Picture this, the roaring fjords, long ships gliding over icy waters, and the smell of sea spray mingling with the battle cries of bearded warriors. In the middle of it all, standing tall with his windswept hair, is Haakon the Good, a Viking king unlike any other. Haakon wasn't just another battle-hardened Norse warrior. He had a dream that stretched beyond swords and shields. Now I know what you're thinking. A Viking king good? Wasn't pillaging and raiding a full-time job back then? Well, you're in for a treat, because Haakon was a king with a mission to mix the old Viking ways with a pinch of Christianity, a dash of peace, and just enough bloodshed to keep things interesting. Our story begins with young Haakon, born around 920 AD. His father was the legendary Harald Fairhair, the first king of Norway, who had such luxurious locks that his name sounds like a brand of Norse shampoo. Harald was a busy man with multiple wives, and Haakon was the youngest son. While his older brothers were sharpening their swords, Haakon was sent to England to be fostered by King Aethelstan. Now, Aethelstan wasn't just any English king. He was a Christian, and he took Haakon under his wing, teaching him the ways of the cross. So, imagine this, a Viking prince running around a Saxon court, learning about peace, prayer, and all the things that Vikings typically didn't do. And if you think Haakon traded in his axe for a hymn book, well, you'd be half right. He did learn the Christian ways, but he never quite gave up on the Viking lifestyle. After all, what's a Viking prince without a bit of havoc to wreak? Let's fast forward a bit. After years in England, Haakon heard that his father had died, and his older half-brother, Eric Bloodaxe, yes, that was his real name, had taken the throne in Norway. Eric Bloodaxe wasn't exactly known for his diplomatic skills. He had a habit of, well, axing anyone who disagreed with him. The people of Norway weren't thrilled about that. They didn't want to end up with a permanent bad haircut courtesy of Eric. So Haakon decided it was time for a little family reunion. He sailed back to Norway, rallied support from some influential chieftains, and managed to oust Eric from the throne. Eric, of course, didn't take this kindly, and the whole family drama ended with him being exiled to England. Talk about awkward Christmas dinners after that. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Haakon was crowned King of Norway, and he earned the nickname Haakon the Good. Why? Well, he was a king with a vision that involved reforming Norway. First off, he wanted to introduce Christianity. He probably thought, if it worked in England, surely the Norwegians will love it too. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Haakon tried to build churches, encourage baptism, and preached peace, but the Viking chieftains weren't exactly lining up to get baptized. They were more into worshipping Thor, smashing things, and drinking mead out of horns. It didn't help that Haakon wasn't always fully committed to Christianity himself. He'd talk about the benefits of prayer, but then turn around and perform a little pagan sacrifice just to keep the old gods happy. The result? Mixed reviews on the Yelp page for Haakon's new religion. Haakon also had a tough time balancing his Viking roots with the new Christian ways. At one point, his chieftains basically staged a Viking intervention. They cornered him and said, "Listen, Haakon, this whole one God thing, it's not really us. How about you lead a sacrifice to Odin just to keep the peace?" And Haakon, like any good politician, agreed, but not without hesitation. Can you imagine the scene? A reluctant Christian king leading a pagan sacrifice while secretly muttering a prayer under his breath, hoping both sides would cut him some slack. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hammer. But Haakon's troubles weren't just spiritual. Remember Eric Bloodaxe? Well, his sons, known as the Sons of Eric, decided they wanted to avenge their father's exile. They invaded Norway, challenging Haakon for the throne. The Viking world wasn't a place where you could just send a polite letter to work things out. If someone wanted your throne, you either fought them or ran to Iceland, and Haakon wasn't the running type. The final showdown came in 961 at the Battle of Fitjar. Haakon fought bravely. like the warrior king he was, but even a king called the Good couldn't escape Viking fate. He was mortally wounded in battle, though his forces won. With his dying breath, Haakon was said to have refused a Christian burial, asking instead to be buried according to the old Viking customs. He knew in the end he had to honor his roots. So, what's Haakon's legacy? Well, he didn't quite manage to turn Norway Christian during his reign, but he planted the seeds. Norway would eventually become a Christian nation, but not without a few more centuries of, shall we say, discussions involving swords and spears. Haakon the Good is remembered as a Viking king who tried to bridge two worlds, the old Norse ways and the new Christian future. He was a warrior, a diplomat, a king who knew how to swing an axe and deliver a sermon, all while trying to keep his head on his shoulders and everyone else's heads on theirs. In the end, Haakon was a king who tried to do it all, and if that's not worth a few songs by the fire, I don't know what is. And that, my friends, is the tale of Haakon the Good, the Viking king who tried to be both a saint and a savage. For more videos, please give a Viking like and subscribe to our channel.